Hi, everybody. Welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about acknowledging shift workers in corporate wellness. This is really important to me. I work a lot in corporate wellness. So, working with shift work has really been my niche. So, I'm glad you all were able to take the time today, or maybe you're listening to this on a replay. And I just want to thank you for taking the time and acknowledging this. So, my name is Laura Timrook. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, and I really have a passion for supporting our shift working employees. I am an international speaker, a board certified health coach, and I focus on corporate coaching for our shift working professionals. I also have recently released CE education courses to teach other health coaches how to better support our shift working professionals. You can also hear me each week on the Outspoken Nutrition podcast. So below in the links, you'll see all my content, all my social media connections. So feel free to connect with me on any platform that you are most comfortable with. I know everybody's using a little bit different of platforms. So here is what I have. If you see my Facebook content, contact is a little bit different. That's actually because a couple weeks ago I was hacked and I no longer have my Facebook page. So I had to go ahead and open a new one. So if you get in there and you're like, nobody's on here, it's because I literally just set it up like a day or two ago. So Instagram and LinkedIn, I am the most active on, but you could find me on all of those. So feel free to connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you do, and I'd like to follow your work as well. So I started this because I do a lot of interviews. I go to a lot of corporations and I tell them that I'm a corporate health and wellness coach and I focus on shift working professionals. And I always get like this deer in headlights look. Like it's a total oxymoron. How can you be in corporate and working with the shift working professionals? Well, what a lot of people forget is a lot of these big corporations, they employ a lot of shift workers. I originally started off in transportation and manufacturing. Manufacturing is where I spent my most time the last few years. But, realize really there is a diverse crowd. And one of the things, I was working for a state agency for transportation. And one time I got sent to all the toll booth workers, which was totally cool. They were so happy to see me because, like so many of them said, we never get benefits like this. So the fact that they were getting a benefit that the corporate offices get and they're the toll booth worker, it really made them feel good. And there is nothing better than being a health coach and making other people feel good. But when you think about your large corporations, think about your hospital staff and your manufacturing. Think of something like Purdue or your cable provider like Verizon or Waste Management. And then when you think about pharmaceuticals, Johnson and Johnson, they have big corporate offices, but they also have their manufacturing sites and facilities. So all of these offer both our corporate employees and our shift working employees. And I think it's important that when you're talking to an employer or your contact at the corporation, that you ask them, how are they supporting their shift workers? Let them know you can support their shift working professionals. One of the paper mills I work for, I actually go in about 6 a.m. to help with the third shift workers. So it's important that you are promoting that you're not just a 9 to 5, that you can be available for some of our second and third shift workers and making sure you can work for them. Healthy doesn't work for me. This was when I first started health coaching my shift working professionals. This is something I heard over and over again. And I didn't really understand it because for me, it made no sense. What do you mean healthy doesn't work for you? Healthy works for everybody. I started in health coaching because I wanted everybody to be healthy. I wanted everybody to know they had the opportunity to be healthy. And having a whole group of people telling me healthy doesn't work for them really hit me hard. And I think that's probably the time where I was like, hey, wait a second. I can fix this. We can do something. Tell me why healthy doesn't work for you. And when I started having that conversation, I started realizing how big of a gap there was from the information they were getting to where they are in their lifestyle and how to merge the two. When you look at the stats for shift working professionals, everything across the board increases if you work a shift style life job, even more if you're a second or third shift worker. So when we look at cardiovascular issues, and this is just one of the markers, but if cardiovascular issues go up 40% from our shift working professionals, that is huge because you think about the nurses, the diesel mechanics that love their job. And you're telling them just by working their job, they are 40% more at risk for doing a job they love. I can kind of understand why healthy doesn't work for them because we're presenting them information. But the best thing is you can stack the cards in their favor. Or I should say, they can stack the cards in their favor. There's ways to make healthier changes that can reduce these outcomes. So let's think about, let's say we're a diesel mechanic, we work a third shift, and we go to the doctor, and the doctor tells us our blood pressure is high, we're a little overweight, and tells us about the risk of heart disease or cardiovascular issues. And the doctor says, but don't worry, just eat healthier and move more. And the doctor walks out of the office. Most of our healthcare professionals do not have the time to sit in front of somebody and really walk them through this. So they go home and they're totally confused with what healthy is. Their best friend's on carnivore, their daughter is vegan, and their wife is on keto. So what are they supposed to eat? So it becomes very confusing. So like most of us, they go to Google and they type in eat healthier. And the first thing they're brought up with, high starch, fiber vegetables, oily fish, less than 6 grams of salt a day. And this tells them what? Well, essentially, it tells them nothing because none of this means anything to them. That's not telling them how to be healthy. And as health coaches, we know everyone's path to healthy is a little bit different. It's probably why they're getting some obscure answers, but it doesn't help them. And when they go through magazines and everyone has a different diet, a different way of eating, and it really helps them realize healthy doesn't work for them. Most of the information is designed for the 9-to-5 workforce. And when I started realizing this, I really realized why healthy doesn't work for them. So that one time I was at that paper mill, or actually I've been at that paper mill a lot, but the one time I was there when I really started realizing that there is a miscommunication. I had a really hard time getting people to come talk to me. And when I finally did, that's when that guy told me healthy doesn't work for him. And we started this conversation on why healthy doesn't work for him. And what I end up learning is how it's presented. So the week before I was there, a sleep professional was there. And that sleep professional talked about the 10 p.m. club and going to bed at 10 p.m. at night to make sure that you're sharp and ready for the next day. Well, that's great if you're talking to people that work a 9-to-5 job. Unfortunately, this group of people, they are rotating shift workers. So they will work a couple days on days, a couple days on mid shift, and a couple days on night shift. And it rotates each and every week. So telling them to get better sleep and to go to sleep at 10 o'clock every night doesn't help them. That means nothing to them. So it's information like this. Now let's go back to that guy that is their diesel mechanic and has cardiovascular issues. So probably at some point, someone has told them to eat oatmeal for breakfast. It's high fiber. And if we remember our Google, it said high fiber diets. So it's high fiber. It's great. It's perfect in the morning. Everything is wonderful. And then all of a sudden they start realizing, wait a second, their first meal of the day is at 6 p.m. at night. Well, 6 p.m. at night, they're making tacos for their family. They are not thinking about eating oatmeal at 6 p.m. at night because that doesn't translate. Now, as health coaches, we know they want more fiber in the diet. We can look at whole grain taco shells and doing reduce fat beef and adding lots of vegetables into that to help boost the fiber content, help them have a healthy heart, but they don't know this. So when they're thinking, I'm either eating tacos tonight with my family, or I'm going to eat oatmeal at 6 o'clock at night before I go to work, guess which one is going to win? Tacos will always win. So again, healthy doesn't work for them. And a lot of times when people start down this path on telling them what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it always is met with, just flip it around to fit your schedule. Now, remember, this diesel mechanic that works third shift, that doesn't know much about health, do you think they are going to take the time to flip this around to fit their schedule? Of course not, because we are continuing that belief of healthy doesn't work for me. So as health coaches, I really feel we are the missing link. See, health coaches have this amazing ability to listen. Not a lot of other healthcare professionals have that ability to listen. They have this ability to listen and pull out that intrinsic motivation. One time I was working with a person and he came to sit in my chair, and he was not making healthy changes. He knew his blood sugar was high. He knew it runs in the family, and he was not interested in really taking a look at it or managing it. So we just started talking. I knew it was kind of a lost cause with him at that moment. And we were just talking about different things. Ended up being that we're both big campers. So we were talking about camping. He's telling me all these great places he has gone with his kids. And I ended up finding out his kids are like tween ages. So being a health coach and not always able to turn it off, and knowing he had these health challenges facing him, I said, not to go back on what we were previously discussing. I said, but you're telling me about your kids. And we see your blood sugar's high now, and it's running in your family. Where do you see your health in 5 years? And he took a moment and he kind of shrugged, and he's like, well, to be honest with you, he's like, my mom lost her toe. She got heart disease and she ended up dying young. He goes, honestly, I'm probably going down that same path. And I stopped for a minute and I was like, wait a second, let me just get this straight. You're doing all these great things with your kids, and you're telling me in 5 years, you might lose a toe. You're probably going to end up with heart disease and die young. And it took him off guard. I don't think anybody has positioned it to him that way, because he's now hearing what he just told me might happen in 5 years. And he's like, yeah, guess that's kind of dumb, huh? And he's like, okay, give me one thing I can do. And that's when the conversation started. See, that's the power of health coaches, is to get them to realize what they're thinking and put it together. A lot of times they are not understanding the outcome. And we learned about that in motivational interviewing and getting readiness for changes, is having them reflect on it, because I can guarantee you he never thought it out loud. And I think that's where coaches can be the missing link. What our shift working professionals need is practical application. They need to know, here's what they know, here is their lifestyle, here is their goal. How do I make it all flow together? And as health coaches, we can help them see the way it can flow together. One of the things I do with my shift working professionals when it comes to stress management, I know probably any of our health coaches that have worked in corporate wellness, you have done a stress management class. I know I have done tons of them. But when I did them for my shift working professionals, it was a little different, because like one guy said, I am not into twinkle lights and yoga mats. Because when he thought about stress management, that's immediately where he went. But we flipped it around. So in the facility I was at, there was a lot of fishermen. They love to fish. They were joking around about fishing on the weekend. So we gave them an example of fishing for meditation and stress management. Actually, we don't use a meditation word because that turns them off, but we use it for stress management. And what I was telling them is when they get their fishing pole in hand and they're standing at the water's edge, what is the first thing they do? Now, a couple of them joke that they crack open a beer, and they probably do. But what's the next thing they do? They take a big breath in. They take a big breath in to toss that line. They're listening to the birds. They're smelling the air. They're looking for the fish. They are being present. And that is the key when it comes to meditation, stress management, is being present in that moment. So we don't have to talk about twinkle lights and yoga mat and breathing techniques. We talk about fishing, or we talk about going for a motorcycle ride, or we talk about going riding dirt bikes with their kids. There's ways we can redirect and make stress management be fun and fit into their lifestyle. And I think that's the biggest impact we have as health coaches, is that we listen and we are creative and we can think outside the box and we can help bring out that intrinsic motivation that all of us know is the key to success. Many of you know early on, I said I offer shift working health coach education. And really my goal is to better support the shift working professionals. That is my mission. So I have a course. It is approved by the NBCHWC. It is worth 3 credits. It takes about 3 hours. And we're going to go over all these statistics. We're going to talk about some of the key factors that are preventing them to change, how we can solve it and offer solutions, and how you can package this together to better help your shift working professionals. If you're interested in this course, if you go to lauratimbrook.com/TY20 for thank you 20, I'm going to give you $20 off until October 1st. So the cost of the program is $149. You're going to get it for $129. And it just opens you up to having that conversation with the shift working employees to get them ready for change and finally realizing healthy does work for them. So I hope you all have a great day. I am probably going to be doing another session in the end of October, early November. It's going to be about opening communication with the shift working professionals. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to open that communication pathways, to earn their trust, to let them see that you're there for them. So we're going to talk about some tips and tricks on that, and I will send out notifications for that. If you want to connect with me on any of the social media you saw before. You can connect with me on the NBHWC forum, but let's connect. I'd love to see what you're doing. I'd love to know how I can support you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I look forward to talking to you again. Bye.